Deuteronomy chapter 20, God instructs his people as they enter the promised land that they are to completely destroy every living thing in the cities that they are to live in. And then he says you are to completely destroy the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites, just as the Lord your God has commanded you. And this will keep the people of the land from teaching you how to imitate their detestable customs in the worship of their gods, which would cause you to sin deeply against the Lord your God. What are these detestable practices or customs that God is talking about that he doesn't want his people to be involved in? One of the things that God forbids his people to be involved in earlier in the book of Deuteronomy is the practice of child sacrifice. It is absolutely 100% against the heart of God for his people to sacrifice a child to him. Human sacrifice is banned as far as Yahweh worship goes. But in every culture in the history of the world, that has been part of worshiping these other gods, and specifically the Canaanites. And what's interesting is archaeologists for dozens and dozens of years, maybe even closer to 100 years or so, when they excavate a Middle Bronze Age or Late Bronze Age home, which is when these Canaanites lived in the land, when they excavate their home, they almost always find buried beneath the floor of every home they excavate a jar with a skeleton of a child in the jar. And at first, when they started to discover these, they were just assuming that infant mortality was high, obviously, and they would bury the children in their home. But it was always just one jar and one child. And as they began to find thousands and thousands of these throughout the land, most scholars have come to the conclusion that Canaanites would offer their firstborn as a sacrifice in the worship of Baal. And this is the detestable custom that God is trying to prevent his people from being influenced by. Innocent life is so important to God, and for thousands of years, these Canaanites were sacrificing innocent children in the worship of their false gods, and God hates this. God hates the needless, senseless killing of innocent life. It's interesting, the timing of this Devo and the rumors that Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned by our Supreme Court. The senseless killing of thousands and thousands and maybe millions of innocent lives here in America. And so when God says, go in and destroy all those people who for thousands of years, for generations, have been killing the firstborn innocent children of their families, it is a discipline, it is a punishment. It is punishment to those people who have slaughtered the innocent. And so today, probably not much to apply other than to remember how much God values life and how much God values the innocent lives of children. Children are very special to the heart of God. And people ask me all the time, maybe that's not true, whenever there's something crazy going on in the world, like tornadoes or hurricanes, or there's some kind of bad, natural disaster in our country, is this God judging America? Is this God judging America? And my response to that is, when God chooses to judge America, and he will, when we have to pay for the sin of the slaughter of millions of innocent children and babies as a nation, a hurricane, a natural disaster is going to be so small and insignificant when you think of the number of innocent children that Americans have slaughtered. When we have to pay for that, it's going to be incredible. The price to pay is terrible. The price to pay for the Canaanites was they were to be eradicated from their land forever, so that the generational memory of them would not even exist. But the Israelites didn't do it. They couldn't follow through. They didn't obey. And as a result, those people were a constant thorn in their side and made their lives miserable. This is what happens when you disobey, is the consequences are more than you want to bear. So today, let us celebrate that we serve a God who values life and has never once asked for a child to be sacrificed to him, except for maybe that one named Isaac, Abraham, that whole story. What's that about? Let's talk about that tomorrow, because it's important when you think about child sacrifice. Thank you, God, that you love life and our lives are important to you too.